Okay, we got the squirrels over on the stove and they're gonna be stewing while we make the dough up for our dumplings. So this is the kind of dumpling I like. Now a lot of people like fluffy dumplings. I don't. I like my dumplings thin and chewy. So I use just a regular all-purpose flour, which means it has no leavening in it. And I don't know if you can see, but that's white lily flour. Now this is the flour that Jeannie and I have used ever since we've been married. Mom liked, for biscuits and stuff, Mom liked Martha White, but I like this, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So we're gonna just start off with plain all-purpose flour. And I like a lot of dumplings, so I'm gonna put about 3 heaping cupfuls into this, because I'm a little short on shortening, no pun intended, so I'm a little bit short on the shortening. Now one thing I do like to do, even with my biscuits, is I'll, self-rising flour has some salt in it. All-purpose flour doesn't have any salt or leavening or anything. So I'm gonna put a pretty good amount of salt in this, because I like the dumplings to have salt in them. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a couple of good fingerfuls of salt. And I'll just take a fork, we'll stir that up, get that salt incorporated into the flour. See there? That's what we're doing there. Now, there's a ratio for the fat. I don't know what it is, but you won't, if you get too much, it'll make them kind of tough. This is your standard vegetable shortening. Crisco brand's real popular in the South. Mama will use lard, Cloverleaf brand lard. Let's see, I think I'm gonna get what's left in here. That'll be one thing we can get out of the refrigerator. Alright, so we've used up what lard we had. Well, Crisco. Lard really probably works a little better. I've got some over there, but I'm afraid it's so that it might be rancid. So you see about how big a chunk of shortening I've got to the flour. It's probably a third, 2/3 of flour to one third of the shortening. And then I just start taking my fork. You can use a pastry cutter, use your fingers. Once I get it kind of going, I can take my fingers and go in there and work it into finer. You want it about like you're making a pizza, or not a pizza crust, but a pie crust. You want it to be little crumbles. You want the shortening to be distributed pretty good through the flour. Now, I'm just going to take my fingers and start this. Of course, I'm going to get flour all over me, but that's just part of the game. Just pick it up and just work it through your hands, and it gets smaller and smaller. And you get the little crumbles there. I don't know if you can see, but you can see kind of how that shortening is incorporated into the flour. Now, so I'm going to wallow me a little hole out there, and I'm going to take this some regular milk. Now, if you got buttermilk, it works better. I don't got any, so you can put a little lemon juice in regular milk if you want to, or you can just use plain milk. But we've got this milk, so we're just going to use it. Now, I just pour in to where I think it's about right. And that looks about right to me, so we'll stir it in and see. You just start bringing the dry into the wet. Just work it around. All right, I got just a little bit too much milk in here. See how loose it is? Now for biscuits, you want it pretty wet, but you don't want it this wet though. That's a little too wet. So I'm gonna add a little flour. We're just gonna sprinkle a little flour in and stir it around. You want a fairly wet dough, but like I said, you don't want it. This is still just a tad too wet, so I'm going to sprinkle just a little more. Now it's easy to get too much flour in it, and then you're just a cat chasing its tail. And once you get it too dry, you got to add more milk, and it just goes round and round and round. Now, I don't know if you can see, but see there, that's a pretty wet dough. Now, if I make it drier, it'll make them just a little bit tougher. They won't rise as good, and I don't really want them to rise. But if you want them to rise, you know, you can stop right there. But I put just a tad more flour in there, and that's gonna make that dough, it's getting to look almost like a pizza dough now. All right, so see there, it's stiffened up just a little bit. It's got a little pull to it. All right, I'm gonna pull this off, and then I'm just gonna let it sit here a while. It don't hurt it. It'll let the dough rest just a little bit, and in a few minutes we'll come back and roll them out and put them in the refrigerator. All right, back at you. We're gonna roll the dumplings out. And the reason we're gonna do them so early is I like to put them, Mama always told me to put the dumplings in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. Now I have put them in there overnight and they dry out pretty good. But 30 minutes is about good, maybe an hour, and it's gonna take the squirrel that long to get done. So here's our dough back in the bowl. All right, I'm going to, and don't be stingy with the flour because that dough is wet. Put you plenty of flour down, and I'll usually get some on my hands. Put some on the top. See here, Sam, you rake the sides as you walk right over the end there so they can see. You rake your sides down into a ball. Now look, this is not rocket science. I mean, it's, you know, the measurements are not exact, but there's your ball. See, it's still plenty wet, but you clump that right down in the middle of that flour. Then you start patting it out. Then you put a little more flour on top of it. Because if you don't, it'll be all over your hands. Now, I just start patting it out. A lot of people rolls it. And you can roll it if you want to. Now, this stuff I'm working on is almost the finest thing since sliced bread. And it's called parchment paper. And it is handy as a pocket on a shirt, I can tell you. And if you know somebody that runs a restaurant, you can't afford to buy this stuff like off of some of the internet sites, because it's just really expensive. But if you go to a restaurant, somebody that runs a restaurant, if you'll ask them to order you a box of it, you can get enough to last you about 20 years for not too much more than it would cost you. All right, zoom back out, little Sam. And we're continuing to press this out. Press that out, press that out. I've already went over the edge here, so I'm in trouble here, but that's all right. We're gonna make it work. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but that dough's not too much more. It's about 1/4 of an inch in the middle. You want it fairly thin, or at least I like it thin. Now, if you want fluffy dumplings, you'll have to go talk to somebody else, because I don't know how to do them. I guess you just make your dough thicker and whatever. But now this flour, it looks like it's extra, but it's going to cook right up into your, it's going to make the gravy, or at least part of it. So we've got that patted out. Get the bowl out of our way. Now I'm going to show you trick number 2. This is a pizza cutter. Best thing in the world to cut dumplings with. So I'm going to start right here, and here we go. I'll make a strip there, and I come back, and you can make these whatever size you want, but I like them about 1.5 inches or so wide. And let's see, let's get that edge off there. Now, you do them long ways, and then you come right back through here and you do them this way, crossways. And you got little square dumplings, oblong, rectangular dumplings. All right, so those are cut. Now, we're going to, here's the trick for doing it on something like this. If you do it on this instead of a board, you can just start rolling that up, just like that. And just roll that up into a jelly roll. Whoops, we lost one or two there. I shouldn't have let it get off of the edge like I did, but I did. All right, so I'm gonna go dump the excess flour off, and if Sam will open the, all right, here we go. We're gonna put them in the refrigerator. They're just rolled up, and they're gonna sit right in here till we get ready to use them. And that's the end of that video, Samuel. Okay, we're back. The squirrels have been stewing most of the afternoon, and they're pretty tender. Sam, if you want to come over and get a look at the broth there. I'll test one of the hams. Yeah, that's good and tender. If you're not careful, they'll fall off the bone on you. So now's when we're going to take the meat out of the pot and set it to the side. Okay, so we got all the squirrel out. We're gonna set it over here for a while. And now we're gonna we need 1 stick of butter and some milk. Just regular butter and milk. And we'll turn the flame up a little bit. We'll let that butter get melted. While that butter's melting, I'm going to go ahead and set the dumplings out. We'll go ahead and unroll them. Okay, this ain't working as good as I'd hope, but we'll do the best we can do with it. Alright, so there those are, and when we get ready, we'll start dropping them in. We're getting our butter melted. I'm going ahead and melt the butter before I put the milk in it because the milk will cool it down. It'll take that butter a little longer to... Now, if you want to eat healthy, too bad. You're not going to eat healthy eating squirrel dumplings. And the process is the same if you want to do chicken and dumplings. It's just, of course, you use chicken instead of squirrel. But now, like I said, it's not rocket science, and I just put milk in it. Just pour that in there, about, what, a cup, maybe 2 cups. We'll let that come to heat. Now we can start tasting the broth and see if it needs seasonings added to it. And I personally don't like any kind of anything other than just salt and black pepper. It's just, and my sister said not to even put the black pepper in it till later. She said it makes it bitter, but I'll usually put a little in it. We'll let that butter finish. I'm going to give it a taste, and it's pretty dang good. It needs just a little more salt, not a lot. And we'll put some pepper in it. I just like the pepper. Now we'll let that season get melded in. I'll taste it one more time. Now you can put parsley flakes in it if you want to, but I don't like anything other than just salt and pepper. Parsley's not very strong, so it wouldn't hurt it too badly, but let me get another spoon. I'm gonna leave it right there. Now I mixed up a little bit of slurry, cornstarch and cold water. This will thicken it just a little bit. But I don't want it too thick just yet. Now, the key to making good dumplings, and my mama told me this, and she's been dead 4 or 5 years now, but she told me a long time ago. The key to making good dumplings is, once you drop them in, you don't stir them, okay? So we're just going to take them over here, little at a time. You got your broth boiling real good. You drop them in. One at a time, and just do not stir them. Just drop them. Now you can take something and kind of move them around, but just kind of find you an open place. Drop them in. Keep your broth going. And it's kind of a slow process. You just as the dumplings cook down, you're going to see that it'll start to thicken. There's flour on the dumplings, and see how they're starting to float? That one's pretty thick. I've got a lot of dumplings. Probably too many, but I like the dumplings better than anything else anyway, so we're going to put them in here till it looks like it won't hold anymore. Notice I've not stirred the pot at all. And if you'll drop them in around the edges, the natural boiling of the pot kind of moves everything to the center. As my grandson Samuel likes to say, how exciting. Probably not that exciting, but alright, I think I'm going to quit right here. Now, here's what you do. You turn the heat way down. Like way down. You could just about turn it off. Put the lid on it and walk away for 10 minutes. Okay, so here is the squirrel after it's been stewed. This is one of the hams. This is the back with the back straps and the tenderloins. Best, excellent part on it. But I've heard people say, well, I wouldn't eat an old squirrel. So they're just a rat with a fuzzy tail, but they're not. Squirrels are vegetarians. They eat a healthy diet. And it's a wonderful meat. It's kind of got a delicate flavor and taste to it. No, it don't taste like chicken. So after we take them out, we've got the dumplings. Come over here, Sam, show them what the dumplings. Now we put the lid on them and we left them alone. And that gives them time to cook. And you can see them there and how they've held their shape. See how they're flat? That is a good dumpling. Now it'll continue to cook a little more. So what we do now, we just take the squirrel and put it right back in there. Now a lot of people will leave the squirrel separate and just pour the gravy and dumplings over it, but it's kind of like getting a Christmas present. You dig down in there and you might get one of them big hams, and that's what's good. So, like I told you at the start, Samuel has become quite a hunter. And he provided these squirrels. So I appreciate that, Samuel. And he's the videographer for the day. Now, you can stir that in, just put the lid on them and let that squirrel get warmed back up. And that's the end of it. Hey, I've been told that this fella looks a little bit like me. I don't know if there's any truth in it or not. But anyway, if you'd have seen me 100 pounds ago, he'd look a lot like me. But he don't look that much like me now, but my wife thinks he does. So anyway, Sam, take the camera and we're going to dish out a couple of plates. Technical error. Now, if you like your soup a little thicker, you can just add more flour to it, make you a slurry it. But this is Sam's plate. And I ain't gonna give him a ton, because he don't know if he's gonna like it or not. But I know I'm gonna like it. All right, so I'm gonna add a little extra pepper to mine. You got a shot of that, Sam? You want any pepper on yours?
A little bit.
Little bit?
Yeah.
All right. So here you have it. Gray squirrel dumplings. Southern gray squirrel dumplings. And that's as good as anything you ever put in your mouth. Thank you for watching. And Sam, thanks for doing the video. Appreciate it.